It might take a year, it might take two, it might take even 4 years, but they do it, I think, for 4 years to be sure that you actually get the insight that you need. Transformational experiences, rites of passage, facilitation for people that are going through spiritual emergencies of different kinds.
Welcome to the Soulcircus Podcast, a space where we explore transformation, healing, and personal growth. Every episode, we sit down with inspiring practitioners, guides, and thought leaders to share wisdom, stories, and insights that help us grow, mind, body, and soul. I'm Lionel, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Today's guest is someone whose work is deeply rooted in transformation, ancient traditions, and powerful experiences that open the heart and awaken the spirit. Sami Hakala is not only a facilitator, but a guide into the unknown. We're going to explore how his path unfolded and what it really means to hold space for others. Let's dive in. Hi, Sami. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Hi, Lionel. Thank you for inviting me. I feel honored to be on this episode.
And this is actually the first one of hopefully a long series of Soulcircus Podcasts. So triple welcome to you. Very happy that you answered yes.
Yes, when somebody calls, I answer yes. So thank you for calling.
Great. So we have a theme for today. We'll dive into everything into more details, but we're going to talk about awakening, about the path to shamanism, and insights into facilitating transformational experiences. Just that, we see where it leads us, but I'm quite excited to hear more about everything you have to share. Would you like that we start with maybe your story, where it all started? What was your first encounter with this kind of work? Your awakening, so to speak.
Thank you. Wow, my heart is pounding and flickering, so it's beautiful. That's a good sign. And it's also something that is highly personal. This is the first time I actually share it openly in this way, and it's very dear to me. So I'm looking forward to kind of dive into these questions. But it all started almost 13 years ago now. I was working as a personal trainer back then, and one of my clients was a shamanic teacher. And I was training her for her 50th birthday to come in the best shape of her life. And during that process, we got to know each other quite well. And she was challenging me with some interesting questions and challenging my beliefs. And during this process, she invited me to Peru as a health consultant on a journey, as she did a training, a shamanic training. And I joined that, and that was the beginning of this journey. So that's how it all started in June 2013, I think. I traveled to Peru, and that was the start into the awakening and shamanism.
Wonderful. Can you describe a moment when you realized your life was about to take completely a different path after this trip to Peru?
I mean, I started sensing it already the moment that she asked me to actually come, and the answer was just yes, completely immediately. It was a yes. I didn't even think about it. It was like yes. But I think the moment when it really hit me was when I was flying over the Andes, like in the plane. It was a clear sky. I could see the mountains, and I just had this feeling that this journey is gonna change my life forever in some way. I don't know how, but it's something is gonna swift and change completely. And that was the first moment that I kind of had that insight of like, this is gonna be something very, very special. There was something in the air that was just magical, and yeah, I look back to that moment, and I still remember the feeling I had when I was sitting, like watching those mountains flying in to Cusco. So that was a very powerful experience.
Curious about working with a coach, healer, or guide? At Soul Circus, we connect you with trusted practitioners from breathwork and energy healing to meditation, yoga, and more. Browse profiles, read real reviews, and find the right match for your journey. Head to soulcircus.io to explore. And now, back to the show. What happened next when you landed? What happened next? How long were you in Peru for? Could you tell us a bit more what unfolded after this?
Wow, it was like the whole journey was just magical, like stepping into a completely different reality. I was met by a shaman on the airport. The first thing he said when I presented my name, Sami, which in Quechua means light or life force. And he grabbed my hand and he instantly said, like, "You're a healer." And I went like, "No, I'm a personal trainer." It's like, "Here, you're a healer. I can sense it." And then we sat in a taxi and I went to the hotel, met my teacher, and had a rest. I mean, it's on very high altitude. I woke up with this choke of almost not being able to breathe after I had a nap. And then she took me on an adventure up to some ceremonial grounds, a really beautiful spot called Sacsay Woman, which is a sacred temple, and just in Cusco. And she took me to this cave, this moon cave, and we did a ceremony there. And I've never done a ceremony in my life. And she opened the whole journey out with doing a small little ceremony in that cave with me, and that's where it all started. And after that, I mean, there was a few days before we met all the others, before going into the actual training, and I was there as a consultant because they were doing a hike over the Inca Trail, and my purpose on that journey was to kind of yeah, do some breath work and do some movement practices to kind of get them used to the altitude.
Mm.
So we were staying. This training was done in a beautiful place called Wilcatica, which is means wildflower, which is a retreat in the middle of Sacred Valley that is very secluded, isolated, beautiful, and there's basically nothing to do there, right? And she offered me the opportunity to be a part of the training, and I first said like, no. I mean, I don't believe in spirits. I don't believe in these things. That's not for me. And I met the people that actually came there, and they were really interesting people. Everything from like journalists to writers to yeah, really interesting people. And I started questioning myself, like, why do I have this resistance towards um, the beliefs that these people have? And I decided, like I might as well join the training if I'm here. Like I have nothing else to do. I mean, sitting in the garden meditating for 10 hours a day. I mean, that's really nice, but uh yeah, I was curious, and that curiosity actually led me to partake into the training. And what I experienced there was just something that you can't explain with words. You have to be there. And it just shifted my belief system completely. And the whole training ended with a plant medicine ceremony. And first, I was really reluctant towards that as well because I thought that was drugs and all that those things. And I studied a little bit during the week on what these things actually are, and I understood that there's a lot of healing that might be able to happen. And I've had a tough background and some trauma, and I saw it as an opportunity to maybe meet that. Um, and I joined the ceremony, and that was that one thing that actually just flipped everything. And after that, we had a month stay in Peru, and these were the first 10 days. And after that, I spent a lot of time by myself in the Sacred Valley, exploring all the temples there by myself, whilst the others were hiking the Inca Trail, because I couldn't be a part of the Inca Trail hike because you have to apply for it several months before to be accepted because they only let a certain amount of people into the park. So I had the opportunity to like explore these sacred temples all by myself after doing this beautiful, very powerful plant medicine ceremony. Um, and yeah, so I spent almost a week, a little bit over a week, completely by myself, just exploring these temples, and it was a beautiful, magical experience.
Amazing. Thanks, Ami. I actually happen to have been to Peru, also landing in Cusco, also feeling
Mm.
this altitude sickness, and then moving on to a trail, um, not the Inca Trail, but another one that took us 3 days to finally arrive at the biggest temple of all that is at least uncovered at the moment, Machu Picchu. So when listening to you, I feel I'm there, and it's just amazing. It revives a lot of good memories. And would you say that in Peru in general, and especially in this area in the mountains in the Andes, there's some very special energy that makes your meditation easier, that makes you grounded, that makes you more connected with nature, of course, and other energies.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Peru is a very, very special place, and that's basically my birth place, and that's where I was reborn. And I've been there twice. I've been to Machu Picchu twice. I've hiked Huayna Picchu, the top mountain just above, and been to almost all the sacred temples around Cusco. That's what I've been doing when I've been there. I've been there twice a month each time, and I'm just longing back. My teachers are also there, so I'm having good connections. But I completely agree. There's something special, really, really special in the air in Peru, and especially these sacred temples. I've spent a lot of time meditating for hours in these sacred places. So yeah, there's definitely a refined um, spiritual energy there, but also very grounding at the same time. Very earthy, very Pachamama, very all these natural forces are very present with the mountains and uh, the jungles and yeah, it's and the people are just amazing, especially the natives when you get to learn them, to know them and their heartfelt ways and their like yeah, deep wisdom rooted in the earth
Yes.
and the traditions that they have are really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, I'm longing there. I just want to speak about it.
yeah, I can imagine. I felt this, everything you say, coming out through people I met there. A fantastic uh, depth in the discussion, in discussions we had. People are grounded, but are also carrying those traditions within them, within themselves. It feels like so. It feels like at home in a way, and you feel more yourself. Having gone a few times to Nepal, I feel also this kind of proximity to myself, to others in another way. So I tend to a little bit have those two countries uh, in my mind as places close to my heart because of this, the connectedness one can have with locals and the traditions they behold. Um, After that, what happened, Sami? After this month in Peru?
Wow, that's when it all started. That was the spark that kind of ignited the awakening. And so I got home. Everything was fine and beautiful as long as I was in Peru. And I got home and things got really difficult. And like my whole belief system had crashed completely. I was in a completely new space. Everything was the same when I arrived home, and it started challenging my ego. And I had this battle with the ego and the self, and it turned out into a psychosis for 10 weeks. Like horrible, really, really horrible. A lot of struggling. I was in and out of spirit world constantly. It's completely uncontrollable. I could stand, have a PT client, and suddenly I see this big giant anaconda just entered the room, and I could see all kinds of different things. I was like, yeah, I was really struggling. And back then, I mean, plant medicine wasn't as usual as it is today, and there wasn't any kind of integration work, so I didn't have anybody to reach out to and get help. And so I was basically like struggling all by myself and broken down, like day by day, just the ego like dying to its old self. So it was a deep, deep initiation. I didn't understand it until many, many years later that that was my initiation process into this work, and that's often how it happens as well. It's these initiations are often associated with like difficulty, sickness, people almost losing their mind, dying, and so forth, until they kind of birth anew, right?
Yeah.
And it was a real struggle. It came to the point that I completely gave up on life myself, and to the fact that I might be like this for the rest of my life. I remember getting down on my knees and just praying, and just like, but release me from this pain. Whatever you need to do, if you need to end my life, do so. But I can't take this, and just give me a sign of what I need to do. If I need to go to the mental hospital to get help, I'll do that. Just guide me into what I need to do. And this veil just lifted. This just sucked out, and I could see everything clearly again. And that was the the way into shamanism. So after that, I started studying shamanism, and I was studying shamanism since, and that was, yeah, that was 12 years ago, almost 13 years now. And that led into deep path of researching shamanism all around the world, basically. So I went to followed my teacher to she was doing trainings in Peru. She was doing trainings in Italy. She was doing trainings in Switzerland, in Sweden. So I went to all these places, and I became a little bit of a helper of hers, right? So I was under her mentorship, and we got a really close relationship. And yeah, so I became her pupil, and I studied with her for many years. And yeah, so that always happened after. And I'm still
Great.
there, still studying and still researching, and having a set of great teachers and beautiful community that is doing good work.
Mm. Well, thanks for sharing this. What a dramatic
Mm.
entrance into shamanism. Would you say, just to go back a little bit to what you said, would you say that the moment you surrendered and like offered your future into higher hands, that's when this veil came up and suddenly everything became clear again? Was it that moment? Because I often hear that's about surrendering, letting go,
Definitely,
and
spot
not
on.
fighting anymore, not fighting against.
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely the moment, like completely giving up on a deeper level. Yeah, so I strongly believe that that was the moment where that's why it also like kind of like lifted. And yeah, but it's been present ever since. Like I remember the shaman. It was a great shaman that did that ceremony. I was traveling all around the world, and he came to that training to do that ceremony for us. And he said, we had a sharing afterwards, the integration. He said that I was last in the sharing, and the sharing took almost the whole day. And when it came to me, I had a million questions. And he just said, like, put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, like, you don't have to worry, Sami. Mother Ayahuasca will be with you always. And then he didn't say anything more, and it was this like left me this clue of not knowing what to do with it. But I think that has also been the gift afterwards, so I can go into these realms and these altered states of consciousness by will, right? I don't need to have these medicines to be able to go there. I can be there just to like sit still and meditate. I can be there. So I think that's the gift, and now I can do it willingly instead of it being something that is involuntary, right?
Mm.
So I see the gift, but it was a struggle, and it was really hard, and I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. because it was really tough. Today there's more help, of course, if you're having struggles, and I sometimes do that as well. Like people that are actually having these struggles after a ceremony, help them kind of integrate what they've been through, and for them to transition into something new. So that's a part of the work that I actually do as well. So help people that are having a spiritual emergency, and to kind of integrate that and see the depth and the medicine that the journey might have held for them. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Helping them transitioning. There's always a before and an after,
Yeah.
and the finality is to become a better yourself, a better you.
Yeah.
Going to the definition of shamanism, what does shamanism mean to you? Not the textbook definition, but for you in your bones.
For me, my bones. So, not the textbook definition of what shamanism is. For me, it's to be in right relation, right? With basically everything, with all our relations. Everything is animated with the spirit and soul. So for me, shamanism is to live in right relation with all those things that are animated, right? So if I would define shamanism or what it means for me, that is what it is to be in right relation, and especially to be in the right relation with the purpose that we're here, um, and to be able to listen to the whispers of the heart and soul, and follow that guidance. So it's the path of the heart and path of the soul. So we've all been reincarnated in this life for a specific purpose, and we all have a gift, and that gift should be shared with, um, yeah, everybody. So I think that's what shamanism means for me. That the world is animated, and we can partake in that different ways.
Yes, do you feel that many other people who practice shamanism would share the same definition as you, or other different views of
The
this?
people that I talk to and the people that I'm associated with do. Um, but I'm not sure if that's the definition that many other people use. I don't know what to answer to that. But I think there's quite a lot of confusion of what shamanism actually is,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's to be in service. It's to remember, love, and to serve. I usually say this, like, remember who we actually are, what the gift what gift we have to offer, and from a loving place, be able to serve humanity and serve yourself. So, and I'm not really sure if all of the people that are like in this field understand that, and I think it also takes, for me, and I'm going to talk about me. It took a long time for me to understand what this actually is, and what I thought it was in the beginning, it isn't. And I'm constantly finding out, and I'm on the path of growing and constantly shedding skin, and just being open to receive, uh, is something that I think is very important in this line of work, and then, like, shamanism. So
Yeah. Uh, we'll go back to this a bit more in detail after, but you've sat with powerful traditions and people throughout those years since this awakening in Peru. What's one teaching that deeply changed your life, if any?
um so the tradition that I was trained in, it's the uh Andean tradition from the Quero people.
Mm.
So that's where I started this journey. But yeah, as I said, I've sat with many teachers. So I have something I call the three wise men. So I started my studies with my first teacher, and then my second teacher is the teacher I still have. It's called Don Alejandro Apaza Machaca. He's from Peru. So he comes from a direct lineage of these traditions thousands of years back. His family, the Apaza family, is very known in South America to be carriers of this lineage and this medicine. Very powerful family with strong medicine. I'm also studying. I met my teacher that I'm studying with now as well, Arkan Lushwala, who is a ceremonial leader and an author. He's from Peru, but he's also adopted from natives in America. So he has both the North American tradition and the South American tradition. So I'm studying with him at the moment. Very powerful man. And then from the East, I have Zen King Song, who I studied with for a few years. That is a Taoist professor, and he's a professor in the alchemy practices, the inner alchemy practices of the Taoist teachings, the Taoist teachings. So these are the three wise men that I have, and then I have had a lot of other teachers as well in different fields, like in movement. I've studied with Ido Portal, and so yeah. But these are the three kind of main teachers that I call upon when I need help with something. So these are three very powerful dudes.
Looking for your next transformational experience? Dive into the Soulcircus event calendar, where you'll find workshops, retreats, and sessions designed to support your personal growth. From mindfulness and movement to deep healing, there's something for everyone. Discover more at soulcircus.io. And now, back to the show.
So, yeah.
And coming from different traditions also. So, and that's also a little bit the magic of today. We're able to tap into amazing ancestral traditions from different parts of the world. You mentioned, of course, Latin America and Peru, but also North America and Asia. Would you say that what you meet in those different traditions somehow merge into one purpose or one vision of what being a human on this planet or being a consciousness is?
Yes, definitely. It's the same message, but it's just different languages. Due to that, they've been isolated in certain parts of the world, right? But they all say the same thing. It's the path of the heart and being in service for humanity as caretakers of this planet. We've been gifted with a consciousness and the ability to have feelings and have these thoughts and being able to create things. And I think that's the gift that we need to share with all life on this planet. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities in these teachings, and the message is the same. It's just translated in different ways. So a lot of similarities.
Just curious about the North American lineage you briefly mentioned, because I think I heard before that there was some Lakota tradition in the teachings you received. Could you tell us about an experience that you had with the Lakota Vision Quest, and what did it teach you on a soul level?
Yeah, wow. So that is an interesting story as well. So I met my teacher Arkan, who is having a ceremonial center in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in United States. They've been doing ceremonial work and indigenous like wisdom teachings for over 20 years. And people from all around the world, natives from all around the world, come there and gather and revive these ancient practices, right? And I met him in Peru 2018 and studied in his teachings for 10 days. And I've read his book before that. And I instantly, when I started reading his book before meeting him, just a few pages in, knew that this man was going to be a big part of my life. And it felt weird to feel that. I was like, why am I even thinking this? And I met him, and that experience was really, really powerful. But in the book that is called Time of the Black Jaguar, he explains and talks about the Lakota Vision Quest or the Hamplecha. that is an ancient ritual, rites of passage that is done by boys mainly becoming men. And that kind of intrigued me. So when I went there to sit in his teachings, the first thing I asked was like, I would like to do Vision Quest. And him sensing that I wasn't mature enough, probably, and was doing it from the wrong place, said that this is neither the time or the place to speak about Vision Quest. What we're doing here is something completely different. We might, if we have time for that, discuss it at the end of these 10 days. And those 10 days in his teaching just changed my complete outlook on why I was here and what I wanted to do. And I actually shared with him when we had the closing ceremony for those 10 days that I would probably not be the right candidate for the Vision Quest. And I've thought about it, and the reason why I wanted to do it was to do it as a test for manhood. Like this, like, can I do it? This is really hard, and testing myself and challenging myself, and understood that that's not the right way to approach these things. So I actually declined, and he said, like, this is really good. Let's talk about this a little bit further. And I would like for you to come to the States and first assist a Vision Quest. So what you do, you support a Vision Quest to see what it is. And if you come in a good way and we think you're the right candidate, you get the opportunity to actually offer tobacco to go on the hill. So it's called to go on the hill. And he said, like, it's full now because we only have a certain amount of spaces. There's like 200 people there from all around the world doing this. So he said that, like, maybe in a few years, we'll give you a call. I came home after that journey. A few months later, I had this vision, a very powerful vision. I wrote an email to his wife and shared that vision. And they immediately said that, okay, it's time for you to do Vision Quest, the next Vision Quest. So I already traveled there the year after, in the summer, assisted and supported a guy going on the hill. And the process was just beautiful. I mean, it's like traveling back in time for thousands of years. So what they did back then was that they had a Lakota altar. So a Lakota altar means that they had the permission to do Lakota vision quests, traditional Lakota vision quests. So I offered tobacco, and that's a story in itself. And I was accepted. So they say that, okay, you're welcome. Are you willing to sacrifice 4 years of your life, because the Vision Quest is 4 years. So you do 4 days on the hill in the desert all by yourself. And there's other questers as well. So you're placed out without being able to see anybody else. You're placed out in a little square of 10 feet square. And then you sit there without food, water for 4 days and starve yourself to get a deeper relationship to natural forces, earth, and then spirit. And hopefully you receive a vision. It's called crying for a vision. And you do that for 4 years in a row. And after that, maybe you do something called the sun dance. So that's basically similar but different, where you dance for 4 days without food, water. So what happened then, the pandemic hit. So I couldn't travel for a few years. So I did my first Vision Quest last summer. So I was there for 2 weeks in ceremony and did a 4-day Vision Quest. But what happened during those years is that they changed it from the Lakota altar to their own altar, which means that they're having a little bit different ways of doing the Vision Quest than the traditional way, the traditional Lakota way. So they're doing their own Vision Quest, which is called Haukai Pacha. So I offered tobacco to do a traditional Lakota Vision Quest. But when I arrived last year, they have changed the altar. So it became a Haukai Bacha, which is also a Vision Quest, but it's done a little bit differently than in the Lakota way. So yeah, that's a ritual that has been done in many different cultures. It's not only in Lakota, it's been done here also up north. It's called Uteseita, where you actually choose a spot, fasting for a certain amount of days, and receiving insight information and visions of why we might be here. So it's been found in many of these native traditions all around the world, and doing these different rituals. So, but it was very powerful and very beautiful and very, very difficult. Very difficult.
Yeah, because basically you don't eat and you don't drink anything for 4 days. So, well, crazy. Not even drinking. The drinking part must be extremely difficult.
It is. I mean, according to medical science, after 3 days you die, right? So you're on the verge of death, of course. And something, of course, happens when we go into that kind of realm, when you enter spirit world, and this is where you receive these visions or information about why you have been reincarnated in this life and what your purpose might be. And it might take a year, it might take 2, it might take even 4 years, but they do it, I think, for 4 years to be sure that you actually get the insight that you need. But it's very difficult. And in that heat, I mean, it's in the desert in the summer, it's 40, 45 degrees Celsius, blasting sun, and you're sitting in the sun. You have no shade, you have 2 blankets only. That's what you have. Pair of shorts and 2 blankets. And that's what you sleep on. That's what you cover yourself with when the sun gets too hot. And it's difficult, but it's also at the same time a very, very beautiful, powerful experience, where you give your life basically to the natural forces, to earth and to spirit. And it's been done for thousands and thousands of years, and it works. It works wonders.
Do you feel that already from the first time you got insights that helped you on your path?
Yeah, and what I've come to understand is that that might not happen, but I already had very powerful visions the first day, like the first day in, and I almost believed that they put something in the water or something before we went up on the hill that was had this delayed time, uh, because I had really powerful visions, almost like on psychedelics, right? And I had like 4 really, really strong visions throughout those days. And I came down early from the hill as well. So usually you commit to staying certain amount of days, 1, 2, or 2, 3, or 4 days. And I committed to 4 days, but I came down 1 day early due to circumstances and the visions that I had. And then I was isolated in a hut, to integrate the experience that I had that was very powerful, and getting help with integrating what I've been through. And that day, or that like 24 hours, felt like I was there for a year. I was like, time collapsed completely, and I had a lot of powerful insights and visions. So yeah, I got like immediately several visions that were powerful that you share with the medicine man, and they interpret it and they see if it's valid or not. Like, because some people might just come down because they're hungry, tired, thirsty, right?
Yeah.
And the fear of death, of whatever it might be. And but yeah, it was a very, very powerful experience. And yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it again, but still a little bit like it's tough. It's tough, but it's also really beautiful.
I can imagine. Amazing. Thanks for sharing this. Now connecting to your mission, you say you continue to learn while you transmit your knowledge and also hold spaces. You've been on the shamanic path for basically 25 years, those past 8-10 years have been you learning even faster and practicing in a deeper way. But you hold space for deep transformation. what does that actually involve?
And so I started. I'm just to correct, but I started with yoga and like spiritual practices 25 years ago,
Yeah.
and then I stumbled upon shamanism. Not stumbled, but was called upon 12 years ago. So I studied for 12 years, like in depth. Like this is what I do. This is what I live. And during those years, I also like developed as well. Um, I do sweat lodges. I did the training for 4 years where you learn how to facilitate sweat lodge ceremonies, all kinds of different other ceremonies I've been trained in as well. But yeah, I do transformational experiences, rites of passage facilitation for people that are going through spiritual emergencies of different kinds, people that are in difficult situations in life, or people that need help with different things. It might just be a cleansing ceremony of a sort that they want to go and transition into something new. And so the facilitation has been there for a long time, and I've been doing retreats as well. In the beginning, like yoga retreats, they weren't that much about facilitating transformational experience in the beginning, but that's evolved to that throughout the years. And uh, the more I've studied and the more I've learned, the more it has gone into kind of transformational and facilitation. And that's what I've been doing for the last few years as well. Like, I was a head teacher at Hale Breathwork for a few years, and I mean, breath is one of the most powerful tools to shift consciousness and to awaken people to their true power. And I really love that because it's a modality where you offer the gift of healing back to the person doing it. Uh, and so, yeah, I facilitate different types of rites of passage and ceremonial kind of work, and to wherever I'm called. And this is the medicine. If somebody calls upon help, we need to be there to support that in some way. And it differs from like person to group to situation, what might be needed, and then you do a ceremony around that.
And you adapt to what you feel are the needs of your audience in this moment in time, using your toolbox, your experiences, and what you're still learning on the path, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, this is also a conversation that you're having with the client or with the group. And there might be an idea of what we want to do and what the outcome is going to be. And from that, together, we come to a conclusion of what it is that we actually want to do. There's some suggestions maybe from my part as well. Like, okay, for this, I could see that this is something that will be needed. Is that something that you're open for? So it's a communication with the persons that you're doing it with, of course. It needs to be something that is also accessible for people. So knowing how to give something that the person might need takes some skill as well to not force feed things that might not resonate with people is also something that I try to kind of adjust to as well. And when the person has opened up to a realization or an insight, then you can maybe go into something different. So just meeting a person where they are at the moment and what they might be available for, I think is something that a facilitator also needs to have skills in, right?
Mm. And speaking of this, what advice would you give to someone just starting to hold space for others?
Wow, this is what I do for a living, right? I teach people to hold space and facilitate transformation experiences. So I would start to identify first and ask the question, like, why am I doing this? I think, why am I doing it? Am I doing it to serve other people, or am I doing it to serve myself? Right? Depending on what angle you have and why you're doing it, is going to have a massive effect on what it is that you're actually doing. So that would be the first thing. Like, why am I doing this? what's the
Your
purpose
motivation,
behind it?
your
Yeah, what's the
intention.
motivation behind doing this? And then, I mean, if you're completely new to facilitation, of course, learn from somebody that is good at it, and learn the art of facilitation, which is it is an art in itself. And what I see in the field of holding space of different kinds, doesn't matter if a yoga class or whatever kind of, if you're an instructor holding a strength class or whatever it might be, there's a lack of understanding of facilitation. And that facilitation also can be a systematic thing. There's a model that you can use, this method you can use, and there are different parts that is vital for people to feel safe and give themselves to the experience and can be relaxed into it without having to think about what is going to happen. So there's many different things that you do when you're facilitating, but I would be like, the first important thing, that there's three things that are super important. That's the entry, how they enter an experience, how they're greeted, and how you set context on what they're actually going to do. Then it's the experience in itself, of course, like doing high quality experiences that resonates with the audience that you're delivering the the experience to, right? But then also the exit and next steps. What is the exit? How do they leave the experience, and how do you integrate the experience so they go home with something that is of value? And the next steps, of course, what is the next steps for you after this experience?
Mm.
And I've developed, I mean, I've been teaching facilitation for many years now, and constantly being a student, and never being done with anything. I constantly try to strive to do things better and question myself, question the method, questions the thing that I'm doing. Like, am I doing it right? Could it be something different? What do I need to evolve in? How is it received? Getting feedback from the people that are actually partaking in the experience, to learn how you can tweak it and how you can make it better. I think that's the kind of have the beginner's mindset, and never settle for that. I know these things and I'm good at it. Always questioning and learning and being open, and being a student first and a teacher second. Um, yeah, I think that's the being curious, like being genuinely curious in people, and why they're there and what their actually experience is going to teach you a lot about facilitation.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, call me and I'll teach you. Yeah, I
So,
actually I systemized the whole process. So there's 10 steps. When I facilitate, there's 10 steps that I follow. So it's a step-by-step guide that I follow to make sure that all of it is in there for it to be an optimal experience for the people that are partaking in it. And you can use it. The cool and interesting thing with facilitation is that you can use it. If you learn the art of facilitation, you can use it on anything. I can
mm,
facilitate a dinner for my family, and I use those 10 steps. I can facilitate a lecture for a office with office people, and I use those 10 steps. I can use those 10 steps to facilitate a transformational rites of passage experience for people as well. So this is the interesting thing with learning how to facilitate well, is that you can use it basically on anything if you learn the systematic steps. So
uh,
I don't know if it answered your question.
right,
Or what?
definitely. I think that those listening to this discussion and willing to hold spaces will find a lot of value in what you said. Thanks about this. So, and also for this 10 steps universal methods. And so they will have to meet you to learn more about this. But
Yes.
do like truly unexpected things happen during a ceremony or a retreat? I guess yes. But could you describe a moment of something that truly unexpected happened, arose during a ceremony or a retreat that you remember, that you could share?
Wow. There's so many. And I've done a lot of ceremonies, and I've done and facilitated a lot of transformational experience, and all of them, everyone has like a really special thing that happens in the middle of it. And there's so many stories that I could like one ceremony in particular, we did a despacho offering. It's an offering that you do according to the tradition that I'm trained in. It's called despacho, means to send. It's an offering that you make to be in right relationship with what you're asking. So in these traditions, you always ask. Before you ask, you give something. You always offer. So you do an offering that you give to fire, you give it to earth, or you put it in water. It's a ceremonial act that you do to be in reciprocity. So it's an act of reciprocity. So before you ask, you give something, right? So there was a despacho offering that we did with a group of, like, I can't remember if it was 15 or 20 people in a yurt outside of Stockholm. And it was a clear a spring day, almost like this. Sun was shining. There wasn't a cloud anywhere. And we started ceremony. So I did a breath work with a drum journey. And as soon as I started drumming, and a friend of mine that was there supporting me and helping me was starting to drum, this thunder just came in. It started just this huge storm just almost ripped the whole yurt apart. And I was seeing people were like worried. I was just thunder and lightning, and it was just blasting in that yurt. And it was really, really like pouring down rain. And as soon as we stopped the drums, the thunder, the lightning went away, and people came back. And people were actually almost immediately, when they were kind of back, we had a sharing afterwards, like opening up the yurt to look out, and it was this clear blue sky. And this is one of the like thousands of different stories that I have surrounding when you actually do ceremony, and the forces of nature enter, and these unforeseen things happen that are just magical. And almost always, like when you do these, especially when you do these like ancient ceremonies, something like that happens. Nature just steps in and shows its true power. And it's beautiful to be there to just, yeah, be completely open to whatever's there and to work with it. So that's one story, but yeah, I have many. I could sit here for hours and just talk about these different stories that is, and interesting things that has happened. But that was, and why I came back to that was actually, we tell that story to a friend. We were sitting in the sauna, and we did a little sauna ceremony with some prayers, and one of my friends said, like, hey, tell me a story. And I'm a storyteller, so I told that story, and we're just laughing because he was actually there as well, and we remember that together. So it was beautiful. Yeah, so many of these different stories.
Yes, fantastic. I guess for many of us, difficult to believe that the elements join the ceremony. It might seem like, what, really? But that exists, that works. I have this kind of experience too with other traditions, with circular rainbows appearing above the center, the retreat center. Yeah, same also at the end of 10 days retreat and teachings, big storm bursting out, a lot of water coming down when it was just sunny for 10 days, and then cleaning everything out and disappearing in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Incredible things happen. And if you pay attention, in this case, it's very obvious, but if you pay attention, that might as well happen every day when you look around. We interact with the external world. We're also part of it. So yeah, everything is connected.
It is.
We just have to keep an open mind and stay awake to what happens. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing this. Are you a coach, healer, or practitioner ready to grow your presence? Soulcircus is more than a platform. It's a growing wellness community where your work is seen, valued, and supported. Set up your profile, offer sessions, and connect with people actively seeking your unique skills. Visit soulcircus.io and sign in as a practitioner. We'd love to welcome you. Now, back to the show. Before we go to another part of the this discussion, I'd like just to ask you, how do you prepare before guiding others? How do you prepare yourself?
I always have a process where I kind of land in myself and really ground myself. I also have written down something I call the facilitator's oath that I read to myself. It's a way of getting in connection with why I'm actually here, and it's a beautiful way of just connecting and getting out of the way, basically, like taking away my self-importance, being really humble for these powerful traditions and these rituals and medicines, and to be in service. So I kind of like have some time to myself to really ground and ask myself, why am I here? Why am I doing this? And it's always like, I have this saying that to remember, to love, to serve, and this is why I'm here. And that's something that also came to me on the vision quest, like remember why I'm here and what it is that I'm doing, and doing it for the love to serve other people, right, in their healing path. So it's a process. I often fast a day before, so I'm completely empty. So there's no like other processes going on. So I'm clean. I have cleansing ceremonies as well, both before and after, to make sure that I'm not carrying anything into the ceremony or taking anything with me. So there's these rituals that I do to get prepared for a ceremony, and those are a big part of being a facilitator, or being, I don't like to call it a channel either, but you're just there, m- learn these um, rituals and techniques for spirit to enter, and then spirit, earth, and the natural elements are what is doing the work. But there is definitely some preparation time, and it usually takes, like, I start already a day before. It depends on what ceremony it is. If it's a sweat lodge, usually it starts a week before. I start cleansing with eating the right food, taking away certain foods, and no alcohol, no sex, just containing energy, being sure that I'm not being contaminated with relationships that are challenging, and so forth. And if it's smaller ceremonies, maybe a day or two. So, and then usually afterwards, as I said, a cleansing ceremony, like just giving back what isn't mine, and just burying it, or doing a ritual around. There's different rituals that you can do. You can do with water, you can do with smoke, you can do with herbs, you can do it with fire, and so forth. So depending on the ceremony, you can use different rituals to kind of cleanse. So that's a big part of the work. Shamanism is to be able to cleanse before and cleanse after. So cleansing the mind, the spirit, and the body.
Yeah, exactly. I guess you can be loaded with energies that are not yours, and that you need to let go after a ceremony, that you don't want to keep in yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, I was wondering, during the ceremonies, during the work you do, how do you manage to stay grounded? Because you work with such high energies and could be quite unstable, maybe moving you away from your center. Do you have maybe a recommendation here that you could share with our listeners?
Yeah, definitely. And depending on what kind of ceremony it is you're doing, and the people that are there, how many, and so forth. But staying grounded, sometimes I have like a kraftobject. What's that? A power object of mine that keeps me reminded of why am I doing it. It might be a stone, it might be a crystal, it might be something that relates to something that is connected to what you're doing and the medicine that you're offering, right? So having that close by, I always have that. And for me, that was a more of a challenge in the beginning. I think, like, harboring all the energy that is going through a ceremony was really difficult, staying focused, and you could be like drawn into people's things, and especially after, I could be completely exhausted after a ceremony for a week, like almost get sick. And then after, like, doing it for years and years and learning how to cleanse and how to be focused and how to be clear and be an empty vessel, just letting things pass through me instead of harboring it, became easier and easier. And now it's much easier. Now it's almost not a problem, right? I seldom lose focus as they're very present in and during the ceremony and after as well. And I think it comes down to training as well and doing it. So yeah, I think a suggestion would be is to calm down. So calm down is easy to do with breathing, right? So do slow breathing, just be conscious of your breathing, observe your breath, and just go into just being calm, right? Often when things start happening, we go into this mind thing and we start thinking and over analyzing. Like we intuitively know what needs to be done in the moment things happen if we just stay calm and present and allow the heart and spirit and soul to guide us. So I would say that that would be something that I would be maybe more aware of, like the breath, because breath is basically spirit, right?
Yeah.
Breathing is andetaget. So in each breath, we're grasping spirit. And as soon as we get a little bit overwhelmed and overexcited, the breath elevates, right? So we're getting and just calming ourselves down. Maybe even if things get out of hand and people go into these states, you just stop everything. It's like, just can we just uh, stop for a moment and take a few breaths together and then just land. And as soon as you do that, people actually relax and then you can proceed. So I think slowing down and observing your breath, observing your spirit move even in and out, that would be the single most powerful technique that I would advise people that are new to kind of holding space and holding ceremonies.
And the most natural ones, the ones that we can all invite, because that's part of us. Do you feel that there is one thing or two that people often overlook when doing this kind of work?
Could you repeat that?
Yes. What's one thing that people overlook often about doing this kind of work?
So, what is one thing that people often overlook? I think what I see is that people get too absorbed about themselves and not being present of what's happening in the room, right? And I think it's also related to the like just observing. Like there's uh, a lot of information of just observing what is going on and just breathing and slowing down. So I think what most people that are new to this is that they're getting too absorbed in their own process instead of just noticing what is going on in the room and adjusting to that. So I usually say the highest form of intelligence is adaptation, right? It's to be able to adapt to whatever is going on in the room and not staying too rigid, because ceremony is ceremony. Like you can't control what happens in the ceremony. That's a frame, and then you allow the um allow the spirit to move through. So it's more of a feminine approach. So you have this frame, you have this container, and then you allow the feminine forces to just be there, and you have to adapt to whatever is there. Just water. The water never clings on to the stone it passes. It just follows the flow of the river, right? So being the river and just following the flow and also navigating in that and navigating people through that river, instead of clinging to the stone and or trying to swim against the current, right? So whatever happens is the ceremony, and we need to adjust to, and I think that's the key point. The like being adaptive and not being too rigid of what things should be and how it should fall like unfold. Every ceremony is perfect, even though it's chaotic, right? So kind of learning how to harbor our own emotions and energy and not getting caught in it. I think that's of essence of being a strong facilitator, especially in like ceremonial settings and contexts where people are going through things.
Yeah. So presence, adaptability. Um, a big question to you, Sami. Has this path ever scared you, made you doubt your direction?
Many times. It scared the living shit out of me many times. It's made me question it many times. This is not an easy path. It's not. You can't take a weekend workshop and then you're a ceremonial leader or a healer. So you're constantly being tested. You're constantly being challenged. Like this is not a easy path. And yeah, I mean, I get freaked out all the time in ceremony, and like when dark energies come visit, then you need to be able to stay calm and cool and collective and present for the sake of all people that are there, right? So yeah, and constantly getting freaked out and challenged. So
Also, outside of ceremonies,
mm,
like, do you feel this dark energy that could pop up in your life anytime, or mainly within the frame of the ceremonies?
no, I mean, I cleanse a lot and I keep a tidy house. It's like everything else. I take out the weeds that needs to be taken out for the garden to grow into what I want it to grow into. So it takes effort and work, especially if you work with like energy work and if you work with spirits. I mean, and it's not bad. This is just dense energy, right? And the one wouldn't exist without the other. Darkness and light is polarities of the same thing, right? So discarding darkness is would be like it doesn't work. So darkness is a part of it, and knowing how to work with darkness and heavy energies, that's just it. I mean, so um, I do not experience it in my everyday life any longer. In the beginning, a lot when I didn't know how to do with it and how to handle it,
Mm.
uh, to the point that I did some treatments at home and my family got affected. So I made a promise that I would stop doing it at home because there was a lot of residue after helping people release darkness and stuff. So it ended up me promising my family that I wasn't going to do this work at home, and I don't. So my home is my home. I keep it clean, and yeah. So I don't know if it answered your question or
It does. Definitely it
so,
does. Yeah, of
but
course.
no. So I would just answer it. No, I don't get affected and freaked out, and I'm gonna rephrase that. I don't get like freaked out to the point that it's just that I'm aware, and sometimes there's like dense, heavy energies that are there that are kind of like making your heart pound. And you're like, "Ooh, this is intense." And especially if people are going through some difficult times and there can be darkness, that's where it can be um, a little bit challenging. But yeah,
Doubts are part of the path. And yeah, thanks for describing it so thoroughly. Uh, super interesting. We're actually approaching the end of this moment together, and it's been so valuable to me first to learn about your work and different approaches and how you manage to share this with others, helping them on their path. Um, what's one thing you'd love our listeners to take away from this conversation?
um, so what would one thing be? Yeah, what would that be? There's so many things. Yeah. So one thing would be to listen to the heart. The heart knows. That would be one message. To get away from the mind and just listen to the heart. And when we follow the path of the heart and we listen to it unconditionally, magic will happen in life. And sometimes we get led astray and sometimes we lose our path, but all we need to do is to sit down, take some time, in deep meditation and silence, and you will hear the whispers of your soul and your heart, and then you can just find your North Star again and keep on treading the path.
Beautiful.
That would be it.
Where can people find your work and connect with you?
So I'm currently starting to work at a place called Specialisten. That is a holistic health center that integrates all kinds of different modalities, which is really cool. It's a beautiful place, and a friend of mine that owns it. So I'm treating there Mondays and Thursdays. Then I'm teaching all around the place. I'm in Europe teaching. And so you can find me there. You can find me on Instagram, Sami Samurai, which means the servant of light. I was really influenced by Eastern philosophy when I was younger, and still am. And also my webpage, samisamurai.com. So it's not updated, but you'll find some information there, what I do and how I do it. But in Naprapat Specialisten, I work with transformational work with sound healing, music as a means to facilitate healing, but also energy medicine work. I also do deep breath work practices to get people to kind of transform whatever there's there, and some body practices as well. So it's I usually say that it's a multidisciplinary kind of way of approaching health, body, mind, spirit. So depending on what the person might need.
And the center you mentioned, Naprapat, is in Stockholm, right? Just for our tools. Yeah,
it's in Hammarby Sjöstad. Okay. I'm having a drum, shamanic drum workshop there next. What is it? The 13th of April.
Yeah,
but it's there. Yeah, it's in Hammarby Sjöstad. It's beautiful. It has this panoramic view over the lake, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Great. And of course, I mean, you have a profile on Soulcircus, so
yes, exactly.
You guys can connect with Sami there. And I have a few quick questions to ask you before we end the discussion. And those are questions that we may ask everyone, more or less the same. But one book or movie or teaching that changed your life?
Time of the Black Jaguar by Arkan Lushwala. Best book I ever read. And one movie, what would that be? Wow, there's so many good movies, but one that changed my... I don't know, man. That's a difficult one. I actually don't know. I have no answer to that. There's so many.
It's fine. It was one book or a movie or a teaching. It's fine.
Oh,
you completed one.
So the book is then that's a really powerful message for the continuum on life on this planet, and focuses on ancestral indigenous wisdom teachings that we can all take to our hearts and make this place a better one for our future generations, or our children, or our children's children. So it's a beautiful, powerful book, and it's a beautiful, powerful message.
What does a meaningful life mean to you?
I would say a meaningful life is when you follow the path of the heart.
If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would that be?
When in a hurry, take your time.
Good one.
Yeah.
One daily ritual that keeps you grounded.
Deep meditation.
If Soulcircus had a billboard in every city, what should it say?
If they had a billboard in every city, what would it say?
If Soulcircus had,
what would it say? Uh, enjoy the ride. You're only here once.
Good one. We'll remember that. And finally, describe your work in one word. Very easy. No, very not easy.
Transformation.
Transformation. Beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah. Amazing.
Beautiful.
Look, Sami, it's been a great time together. I so enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How about you? Was it okay?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. Really relevant question. Is also nice to revisit, like where it all started, because I'm also in a period of transition into something, like stepping fully into my own medicine, like leaving everything behind and trusting that it's time to pass on knowledge. So it's a very powerful time, and it all happens for a reason. So it comes into the 13th year now. It's a 12-year cycle. It's really interesting. So yeah, it's beautiful to remember, like go back to where it all started and when I'm actually here now. So it's a beautiful. Thank you. Medicine. So really lovely.
And ready to start this new 12-year cycle then with
yes,
what you've learned through those past years. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you
for the honor to have you today. I really appreciate you, Sami.
Thank you.
Please stay in touch. We'll follow your journey. And see you soon again.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. Beautiful.
Thank you guys for listening all the way through. This was a truly inspiring conversation with an inspiring person. I thought it was interesting listening to Sami's story and feel grateful and honored that he so openly shared what in most cases is secret and sacred knowledge passed on through the generations. It was really insightful to me, and I hope this episode brought some value to you as well. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one.